Now we are recording.
All right, fantastic. We have one more minute, and we have shared a few things in the chat for you. If you are new to WebEx, then there is a participant guide to help you with anything that you may need to find. You can also follow along with the slide deck that we shared in the chat. And again, if you have headphones, those would be fantastic for today. All
They
right.
just help fight feedback if we're making music.
All right, and we are at 4 o'clock. So welcome, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's session, which is our fourth session in the self-care series. And these sessions are specifically focused on meeting the SEL needs of adults, that's you, through the arts. So we are hoping to help you take care of your own SEL and self-care needs today with Mindful Meter. And remember that we are recording this webinar and we will post it to our webinar archive. It's also live streamed on our Facebook page and available immediately after today's session. I'm Sayward Grinley. I'm your dance and visual arts consultant. And today our session is going to be led by our very own music and theater arts consultant, Brandon Rader. You'll hear from him in just a second. Yep. And we have our section chief, Dr. Lori Major Carlin, here today if she wants to say hello really quickly.
Good afternoon, everyone. I apologize for my husky voice. I will not be singing today, even though my voice tends to be my instrument. So I'm so glad that you all were able to join us. And I know that Brandon has just a jam-packed session for you. Just let loose, enjoy. You know, this is recorded, but pretend it's not, and have some self-care during this time. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks, Lori. And today's session, our agenda is to go over just a little bit of background of our self-care series, and then your full mindful meter session, we'll do a quick reflection and Q&A at the very end. And of course, make sure you stick around for your CEU information at the very end of the session. Our webinar goals today include helping you get the tools you need to meet your own social and emotional needs through regular rehearsal practices and also utilizing brain science to modify our moods with music. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Brandon to give you a little bit of background about this series.
All right, so back in 2014, our predecessors were smart enough to create a conference called Arts Are for Life to allow both arts educators and non-arts educators to come together and learn from one another while also rekindling, reflecting, reconnecting, and renewing their passion for education. We found that this was a great model for us to deliver some self-care professional development for our educators, regardless of whether or not they were arts teachers or not. And today we're on the fourth session of our 8-session series. So we hope that you will be able to join us for the other 4 after today. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you some ways that we can utilize music in our daily lives to reduce our stress and engage in some mindfulness. So I promised today to, let me let some people in here really fast. All right, here we go. I promised today would be interactive and include music making. So I recognize that some adults are here solely for self-care, and others are thinking about ways that they can incorporate music into their instruction with students. So I've tried to maximize the time we have available today by utilizing these visual reminders on the slide. If you see a YouTube video, that's something that you can come back to later. If you are following along in the slide deck, I know Sayward's going to be sharing that link again in the chat here. And if you see a target, that's something that you might be able to come back to later and that at your students because it connects to something in the standard course of study. If you see the chat symbol, be ready. We're going to be interacting via the chat. There's a pop-up piano symbol for anybody who might not have an instrument that they feel comfortable with performing with. And then we've got our mute and unmute buttons. I do want to point out that the unmute button, the green one, is be ready to unmute. I'll try to make sure to let you know when it's actually time to unmute. So today is called Mindful Meter, and I just wanted to talk for a second about what meter is. Many experts call music organized sound, and meter is one of the main ways that musicians organize sound. And the way that they communicate that to other musicians is with this time signature, which you see here on the page. Things can get pretty complicated pretty fast, and since we're not here to talk about music theory, let me just say that these signatures tell musicians how to use their time in music. And today's activities are going to be addressing different ways that we can use our time to engage with music to enhance our overall well-being and lower our stress level. So the first thing we're going to talk about is breath. Everybody has heard this if they've ever been in an ensemble. A choir that breathes together, sings together. The same is true for the band room, the marching field, certainly that preparatory upstroke from the drum line that I've coached. And that musical piece doesn't really begin with the first note. It starts with the preparation. So in order to prepare ourselves for today's session, we're going to do some breath work to calm our minds and center ourselves. Moreover, if you haven't been singing or playing recently, this might be a way to remind our bodies how to control our breath, which is something we'll definitely be doing later in the session. So before we do that, I just want to reference this awesome guide here called, oh, you can't see it, Structures and Movement of Breathing. This is a primer specifically for chorus, but I think it's a really great resource for anyone who uses breath in their art form, which is, all of us. So our bodies are not rigid structures, but they really can become that way when we become stressed out and there's too much tension in our bodies. So if you take a look at this image on the right, which is from this publication, you can see that when so many of us take deep breaths, we do it with our shoulders. Can you do that? Go ahead. And when that happens, you're actually introducing a lot of tension throughout your neck and your spine. And that's not good. And so what we can see here in this diagram is really when our diaphragm moves down, all of our guts, as I used to tell my elementary schoolers, move out to the side and in the front, and your chest should expand both sideways and front to back as your breath fills up that entire space. So trying to keep your shoulders down, go ahead and engage in that kind of breath. If you'd like to take your hands and put them near your belly button, that's helpful too. Fill that up. Great, awesome. Well, one of my favorite ways to engage in measured breathing with students is via a Hoberman sphere. And I had one, but I'm afraid that perhaps my own munchkins borrowed it for their own purposes. But what's great is mindful.org right here has created a GIF for the purposes of both classroom instruction and virtual instruction. Go ahead and try to breathe with that. So as the Hoberman sphere expands, I'd like you to breathe through your nose, and as it contracts, breathe through your mouth or out your mouth. Here we go. Try again. Great. I'm going to change the screen just for a second so that we aren't looking at the GIF. And I'd like us to breathe in for 4 counts and out for 4 counts. Here we go. In, 1, 2, 3, 4, and out. 1, 2, 3, 4. In, 1, 2, 3, 4, and out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. Now let's try it for in for 8 and out for 8. We're going to slow down our body's speed. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Great. I don't know if you notice it, but whenever I slow down my breathing, it kind of just calms my entire body. And we'll talk about the science of why that happens a little bit later. But just as our warm-up welcoming activity, I wanted to point out these musical meditations brought by the North Carolina or created by the North Carolina Symphony in conjunction with our Carolina State Parks and Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. They're putting out videos, and you can just take a moment to engage with them. So I'd like you just to use some listening skills and breathe wherever you feel is appropriate to breathe in with the music phrase and then out with the musical phrase. We'll do this just for a little bit.
We can't hear them, Brandon.
Oh no! You can't hear the music?
No.
Wow, that really stinks. I hope that's not going to happen for all of our music. Let me try it on actual YouTube. Are you looking at
This oceanside verbo is about to become the
We hear that.
You can hear that? Okay.
Yeah.
an unforgettable vacation.
Sorry. No.
Go up to the top where it says audio video and make sure that you're in music mode.
Well, we're not in Zoom.
I know you're
So-
in WebEx. It's the same thing. It's called music mode.
Okay.
Do you see it?
Oh,
Try
on
that.
audio video on the top. Yes, I see it.
Try that.
Okay, so is it when I go to full screen that it disappears? Can you hear that?
We can hear.
We got it.
Great. Thank you for the troubleshooting. Right. And if you actually engage in these earlier on, there is a guided narration the sort of thing that I was talking about at the beginning, trying to focus on breath during that session. So thank you very much for doing that with us and preparing for today. So we often hone in to these components of SEL, really these self-focused ones when we think about self-care. Things like meditation and breathing, mindfulness, a personal mantra or reflection, even bubble baths, having me time. And these are wonderful, but especially in this time of self-seclusion and isolation, these might not be enough to really rejuvenate us. So I want to focus a little bit more today on these social parts of the 5 castle competencies. Music is inherently both social and emotional, and whether we're part of an ensemble or performing solo in front of a listener, we depend on others to really partake in our musical experiences. When we perform music, we perform it with emotion. And that performance is always enhanced if that emotional connection is authentic. And we love to share good music with other people or even bad music. Lord knows that Friday song is played every Friday in my house. And we share those emotional connections with the music with other people. And yet music making has, in a social way, has been incredibly challenging for so many of us during this pandemic, both with each other and with our students. So today we're going to try to explore some ways that we can create music together. So everyone knows that video platforms all experience lag depending on upload speed, download speed, the user's RAM, and this causes chaos for timing in a musical piece. So what happens if we actually take away rhythm and meter from a piece? So inspired by marching band warm-ups, I wanted to attempt to create some long tone chord changes which allowed fluid transitions between chords. So I'd love for you to grab your headphones if possible. And for simplicity's sake today, we're not going to try to do anything super elaborate. We're going to only attempt to sing some 1 and 5 chords. If you're not comfortable singing, you can always play. There are some parts, links down at the bottom. Don't worry if you can't read music. Over here on the left side, we have play buttons that if you click on them, will play your part so that you can hear it in your ear. So we're just going to take a minute or two for everybody to listen to the parts, and then we're actually sing them together. And I'll give some more instructions in just a minute about how we're going to do it, but I wanted to give you a minute or two to listen to that part. Again, if you are not a confident, or sorry, if you're someone who can play the piano, then you can click on that pop-up piano icon and play the notes for yourself, or you can just hit that play button. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and give you 60 seconds, which should be enough time to run through it like 8 times.
All right, awesome. If you'd like to turn on your camera so that you can see the people that we're going to try to sing with, that would be great. If you that isn't within your comfort level, that is totally okay as well. So I just wanted to really fast say that the soprano part's going la la la, just like that. The alto part is just going to go la la la, and the baritone part is going to go la la la. Right. So we're going to be really simple. We're just going to try it, and hopefully you can see me and your music. I'm going to hold up my one finger if we're going to be on the 1 chord, and I'm going to say 1 chord. I'm going to hold up all 5 fingers. Hopefully you can see them if I hold them in front of my face. What's that? Oh, and for the 5 chord, and then we'll go back to the 1 chord. And we're just going to try this one time. If we are super successful, we'll do it a couple more times. We did try this in a trial session, and it went super great. I got a little emotional because it was the first time I had sung with any other adults in months. So we will see how this goes. Are you ready? Okay. So go ahead, and we're going to go ahead and unmute ourselves. I'm going to give everybody their pitches one more time, and then we're going to go ahead and try it. Okay, so go ahead and unmute yourselves. Oh, Anna, I think you are, yeah, thanks. was gonna say headphones are definitely best if you're able to. If not, you can keep your yourselves muted, but still sing along with us, please. Okay, so we've got baritone, soprano, and alto. Okay, here we go. Ready? One chord. La. Awesome. And we'll try the 5 chord. La. And the 1 chord. La. I definitely hear Linda. I will tell you that. Thank you, Linda. We did try this with a group of 4, and it worked super duper well with headphones. I think we just have a lot of people on the call right now, and it's trying to pick up so many people that it's flying all over the place. But if you do have a small group of people, a small ensemble, this definitely is a great way to be singing with other people. Linda, what can I? Yes.
This is great for breakout rooms. If you're allowed to
Yes.
do, if you can do breakout rooms, it's perfect. And you don't even have to like pick a leader. You just say, okay, Brandon, you're on the A, Anna, you're on the F or whatever. And, make sure that they know what they're doing. But that's what the breakout rooms are fantastic for with music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was going to say, if you can find a way to move through your chord changes or move through a harmonic structure without time, then that timing lag becomes a non-issue. And there are really a lot of beautiful things that can be done that way. Cool. Thank you so much. So moving forward, I am a little bit of a science nerd. Anyone who actually knows me probably just fell off their chair laughing at my qualification of little. But I wanted to talk about brain science because we traditionally think about music and other creative endeavors as engaging the right side of our brain and leaving those more logical mathematical things for our left side of the brain. But current research, much of it shared in this book, This Is Your Brain on Music, which I absolutely love, by Dr. David Levitin, a former record producer turned leading neuroscientist. Very cool backstory. He suggests that music actually engages every part of our brain that we have ever mapped. So we're going to take a look at some brain images here from the appendix of that book. And this shows the different regions of your brain that are actually engaged in the process of music. So I'm going to talk about 2 main sections, and the first one is the cerebellum. So the cerebellum is at the back of our brains, and it's actually one of the oldest parts of our brain, evolutionarily speaking. And the cerebellum is the part of our brain that controls movement. And that includes many of our daily motion activities, which have that repetitive quality, whether you're swimming or running, walking, breathing, or flying animals, they all have that pulse. And the cerebellum is involved in maintaining that pulse. And it's also engaged when we make music. Whether you're keeping a beat internally or externally, or if you're listening to music, your cerebellum is still engaged in keeping the beat, even if you're not conscious of the fact that you're keeping the beat. The other region of special note is the nucleus accumbens, which is responsible for processing emotional responses. So it's the same system in our body that is involved in pleasure and the production of dopamine. And listening to music it's also stimulated by listening to music, which shows that it's actually a means for improving people's moods through that dopamine production. We're going to come back to that a little bit later. So go ahead and share with me in the chat. Does anybody know who that guy is right there? The one with his headphones on. Yeah, that's Michael Phelps. That's exactly it. And he is famous for keeping his headphones on until the very last second. And I'm curious if anyone knows, you can write into the chat why he does that. Why do athletes keep their headphones on? so they don't hear the crowd, concentration, focus, blocking out sounds. So it's actually, Dr. Levitin has shared that Olympic athletes have found that in order to improve their performance, um, they're listening, or let me back up. I'm so excited about this. So it gives them such an edge that WADA, which is the World Anti-Doping Agency, has actually looked into whether or not listening to music gives athletes an edge. And what happens is that your neurons in your brain actually fire at the tempo of the music that you're listening to. So if you're able to listen to music that's slightly faster than the tempo that your body moves when you're doing your sport, you can actually trick your body into moving faster and moving at that higher tempo or speed. So we can use that same technique to hijack our own brains and either increase or decrease our internal rhythm based on whether you need to amp up or rev down, and listening to rhythm with a really strong internal beat, which Dr. Levitin refers to as groove. So we're going to be getting up and keep the beat here in just a second. So even better than listening to groovy music is playing or participating in its timekeeping. So take a look at these 6 movements that are shown on the screen here. We've got clap, march in place, patching, which if you're not an elementary music educator, you might not know that term. It's patting your thighs with your hands, tapping your toe, thumping your chest, and snapping your fingers. If you are in a chair, you are welcome to modify the movements however you need. Just marching can be lifting up your feet, and I'm pretty sure everything else is doable. So we're going to go ahead and take off my headphones so that everybody can.
And I'm hoping it's going to work this time. So feel free to stand up if you would like. Oh, before anyone gets thrown off, this is a rendition by the musical group Black Violin, which is amazing. If I've had the opportunity to take my string students to go see them, and it was phenomenal. So when the bass drops, don't be surprised. Great. I hope that made you as happy as it did me. So hopefully your body's feeling a little bit more up if you were feeling down, and we are able to hijack our our cerebellums and make it move just a little bit faster and have our internal beat. So the great thing about this is that it's a great way to center your class or center yourself in the classroom, right? You can do a little bit more than go noodle. The link down here, I think that Sayward's able to share it in just a moment. Yeah, it's a great way to refocus your kids at any point if you're not already just gonna do it with yourself. So we're gonna, there we go. So music theory is a little bit different than music education, but many domains align and complement one another. So we're gonna to that domain for just a moment and talk about the research done by Dr. Suzanne B. Hanser, who works at Berkeley. She shares what we already know. Making music keeps us healthy. So we know that making music releases serotonin and dopamine, and it helps to regulate our autonomic nervous system. And that's the system that regulates our breathing, controls our heart rate, regulates digestion. And it can activate our parasympathetic nervous system to relax us by constricting those airways, reducing our heart rate, stimulating digestion, or it can stimulate our sympathetic nervous system, which is our stress response, our fight, flight, or freeze, right? It relaxes those airways, makes sure we can breathe really well. It stops digestion and it increases our heart rate because all of our blood needs to be out in our muscles because we need to run away from bears right now. And that's fine. That's the way we're built, right? Which is fine if that's your stress response to keep from being eaten, but it's not okay if our stress response is high due to all of those office pressures or emails or toner or what the budget is, right? That's not good. We know that increased stress causes hypertension, it causes heart disease, it causes GI problems, right? But when we're engaging with music, we're actually enhancing our parasympathetic nervous system, which allows us to relax. And it's even found that pain signals aren't as strong. So listening to music actually inhibits your pain signals. In addition to finding that engaging with music relaxes us, a 2017 Harvard study on making music and the effects of apparent brain age of musicians compared to non-musicians, musicians, specifically amateur musicians, were found to have the lowest brain age. So making amateur music has an age decelerating effect on our brains, especially if you don't have the stress of professional music making. So we're going to try to make some amateur music here, okay? I'm going to migrate over to my piano because yes, we're going to actually be making some music here while you are watching this video. Okay, oh, I'm sorry. We're gonna do a little bit of G-flat pentatonic improvisation, which is the black keys on the piano. So if you want to use the pop-up piano, you're more than welcome to. This is an activity that I used to do actually with my EC self-contained class. I had one specific student that really was interested in creating music. And one day I started this vamp and asked him to play any of those black keys. And we began doing this on a weekly basis. And his improvisation really evolved into these phrases with like a call and response sort of structure. And today we won't do anything that's nearly requires, or that I won't require such complicated things. But here is an example of my daughter when she was 5 and a couple more friends who pitched in exploring those black key notes. And today we're going to focus on music making more than that structure or anything else, but enjoy. Okay. All right. So we're gonna practice first a little bit. Oh no, I'm so sorry. We're gonna practice a little bit first here, staying muted, so that we don't all have chaos right away. And I'm gonna go ahead and play the vamp here on my piano. Again, if you are playing a B flat, F, or E flat instrument, I hope that I properly transpose the notes for you. G flat, A flat, B flat, D flat, and E flat. And if you are not a music reader, if you click on this pop-up piano, let me show you what I mean right here. It's truly any of these black keys right here. You can play any of them and it's all going to sound gorgeous. That's the beauty of the pentatonic scale. So I'm just going to play for a little bit, and then we'll come back together and we'll see if anybody wants to share live. Here we go. So you can choose to play your instrument. You're welcome to sing. You're welcome to play that pop-up piano. But I don't think that I actually taught this yet. Nope. So we'll go ahead, and if you're interested in participating with your mute off, so participating live, go ahead and put your name in the chat, and Sayward is I'm gonna put her in charge of actually saying who we're gonna listen to live. I hope we have some participants. All right.
We have Sandra.
All right, cool. All right, Sandra, go ahead and unmute yourself, and we're gonna give this a try. All right, here we go. Nice, fantastic. Linda, would you like a turn? Thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome.
I can't find my unmute button. Okay.
We're good. Are you playing on the piano or on your recorder?
Well, I was gonna play on the piano because I'm not good with flats.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I
I can do B flat. How do you do G flat?
I think they're partial.
Well, wait a minute. Now, yeah, let me do it on the piano.
Sounds great. I'm excited. Dueling pianos.
Well, have you ever heard of shared piano?
I haven't, but we'll have to try that another time.
I know. Okay.
All right, 1, 2, ready, and... That's fantastic.
Okay, and we have Trisha volunteered as well.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Can I see? Oh, there we go. Trisha, are you playing a string instrument today?
This is a string instrument, yes.
Fantastic. I love it. All right, here we go. 1, 2, ready, and... Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. That's awesome. Man, this makes my heart so happy. It's been so long since I've gotten to play with anyone. So this is really fantastic. I'm gonna go ahead and keep us going. If you are following along in the recorded session, by the way, this big red button at the bottom has my accompaniment. All you have to do is hit play, and then you can participate as well. So, coming back to that nucleus accumbens, which is where our brain processes emotions, we are going to dig a little bit more deeply into listening to music instead of just performing or creating it, even though that was amazing, and thank you so much for participating, everyone. So Dr. Daniel Levitin actually shares about an experiment where patients undergoing surgery were either given Valium or were allowed to listen to music. And there were two different groups. Either they were given music that the doctor chose or music that they chose to be calmed down for. And tell me in the chat, which do you think was most effective? Valium, doctor chosen music, or patient chosen music? Yep. Patient chosen music was more effective than Valium at calming patients in the preoperative part of surgery. So the best part about this is if the patient owns the music or if you're streaming it, it's virtually free, right? It's organic. It has no side effects. I mean, it's more effective as proven by researchers. That's just mind blowing. And it's not just about changing your mood, right? It's actually, or with like happy playlists, Levitin actually shares that even when you're sad, it can be cathartic and allow the listener to really connect with music and to see how the singer tells the story of how they rise from the hardship to move on. And we're going to stick on that principle here, or idea here. Going back to Dr. Susan B. Hanser, who was the music therapist, we're going to talk about the ISO principle to figure out how to create playlists to address the needs of our autonomic nervous system. So the ISO principle is actually a very important kind of cornerstone of music therapy. We start by identifying music that matches the feeling we have right now. And then we try to gradually change that music. We don't want too harsh of a juxtaposition because then we can't connect with that and we kind of get put off, and that doesn't help at all. So we're going to talk about two kinds of playlists. One of them is going to be the autobiographical playlist, and the one we're going to look at first is a functional playlist, also sometimes called the mood manager in some of her work. So the functional playlist is perhaps the one I find the most helpful. And we won't be able to spend time today to actually build those, but I'd love to have you share right now the first two questions. So how do you feel right now? What song connects to that? You can share in the chat, or how do you want to feel? What mood do you want to be in?
Tienes que poner cómo te sientes ahorita, cómo te gustaría sentirte.
Oh, that's great, Bridget, to hear that the ISO principle is also used for school counseling. That's amazing. Yeah, being relaxed. Does anybody have a name of a song of how they feel right now? What song reflects your mood? Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I love it. If you like pina colada. Feeling calm. Yeah, there are days that I throw on some Helen Jane Long or They Dream by Day just to relax. Singing in the Rain. Oh, that's a good one. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Hey, Brandon, we also had a question. If you know, let's see, earlier, is it also effective to listen in your head to the song rather than actually playing it or listening it but listening to it from memory.
Absolutely. The idea of the playlist, though, is that you start with the song that connects to how you feel right now, and you look at the song that reflects where you want to be, and then you kind of create the playlist in between. For the tempo might increase or decrease depending on how you want to go, and so from memory could be great, but you definitely want to do these ahead of time. So Dr. Hanser has actually put together a lot of playlists just recently in her most recent blog post, the Mood Manager playlist. And here she had several guests create some example playlists. And so, for example, Sad to Hopeful might be these 10 songs that have a transition from one end of the spectrum to the other. Going from sluggish to energized might start with I'm Not Okay and end on Rain on Me, right? So there are lots of different examples here that you can access from this link right here. And there's a mood worksheet down here at the bottom as well. So the autobiographical, I Will Survive, that's a good one, yes. The autobiographical playlist is more about figuring out what you connect to. So it looks at what songs you loved in your childhood and what songs you loved from your adolescence, and then what songs sort of reflect the accomplishments or celebrate, champion those accomplishments that you've had in your adulthood. So at the bottom of this slide, you'll also find another template from Dr. Hanser helping you discern what should be on your playlist. But we have a couple minutes, so I would love to hear what songs you connected to or soothed you as a young child. Go ahead and drop that in the chat. Hush Little Baby. Yep. For me, it was Greensleeves. My mom would hum Greensleeves to me. You Are My Sunshine. Yeah, that's a great one. Rockabye Baby. Sound of Music. Yep. Yeah, these are great. Oh, What a Beautiful Morning. My Fair Lady, of course. We sing that in my household all the time. That's great. Baby Elephant Walk, that's another great one. Yeah. So kind of having a playlist to fall back on when you know that you need a little bit of comfort and support. Maybe you don't have somebody to sing you those songs anymore like you did with a child or as a child, but you can find those songs and find comfort in those songs by creating an autobiographical playlist. So I know that wasn't super interactive at this point, but I just thought that was so mind-blowing and is something that you all can do as homework. So now I have a question. What does this image make you think of? Go ahead and drop it in the chat. Happiness. Oh, I love it. That was a great answer. An earworm. Oh, you hit the nail on the head. The song that never ends. Exactly. So have you ever had that song that you couldn't get out of your head? This is the brain scientist, Dr. Oliver Sacks, and he studies the peculiarities of the brain. And he wanted to just or look into the ubiquitous nature of the earworm. Everyone across the entire world experiences earworms, and how they are most often caused by sensory deprivation. And no other sense in our body actually has an analog. Like we don't feel a certain feeling when we haven't touched anything for a while, and we don't like see visions if we have had our eyes closed for a while. Yet all people across the entire world have this idea of, or understand this idea of getting a song stuck in their head. And the people who understand this the most are advertisers, right? And they exploit it for their own purposes. Can anyone identify the lyrics to the jingles for any of these? Oh, it's funny. I had to choose
All of them.
right? I had to choose which insurance company I was going to put on here because they all do it, right? You know? Yeah. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Or, you know, Nationwide is on your side and Red Robin, yum, right? We all know these things. In fact, somebody can mess up the words and still know which thing you're actually trying to reference. So advertisers get you to buy into their product in part because of these jingles. And so what I wanted to do is flip it. And what if it was a message of affirmation instead of do 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 do, right? What if you were able to buy into a habit that you actually wanted? So I wanted to introduce this little guy. If you don't know him, you probably don't have small children in your house. This is Daniel Tiger, and it was originally created by Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but has now his own show. And so this show is rife with songs that the producers are literally trying to get stuck in your kids' heads. They also get stuck in the parents' heads too. And these earworms are all for positive, right? Just keep trying, you'll get better. Try, try, try. Or when you have to go potty, stop and go right away. Okay, so of course, these are things that are for kids, but we can use the same idea for adults. So, what do you need to make for yourself? You know, you can do it. Just keep pushing through it. I don't know. Come up with something like, you're the bomb, just keep calm. You're the bomb, just keep calm, right? Through your entire day. So, what I'd love for you to do is take a look at these mantras right here. You can choose one of these, or you can choose one that you love yourself. And I'd love you to take a minute and you can stay on mute for right now. Create a little melody for yourself. Create a jingle. It's got to be simple. Right? And then right next to where you have participants, you should have the opportunity to click on raise hand. And if you are able to do that, I'll know that you want to share your jingle with everybody. This is the last thing we'll do today. All right, Linda, go ahead and share us yours.
Sing, say, dance, play. Let's make music every day. Sing, say, dance, play. Let's make music every day.
That was great. I love it. Is there anyone else who has a great jingle mantra that they'd love to share? I know I'm not giving you very much time, and that is okay to take risks.
It does not have to be great.
Sayward, are you sharing that you want to do one? I am not afraid to be wrong, right? I am not afraid to be wrong. It can be something very simple. You can steal, a phrase or a melody from somebody you know. If you didn't recognize Linda's melody, she absolutely stole it from somewhere else. My kids, have songs that they bring home from preschool all the time that are all set to Frere Jacques. So you can always use these jingles and mantras to go ahead and create something. All right, Trisha, I'd love to hear yours.
I was just going to do the first one. My mind is brilliant. My body is healthy. My spirit is tranquil.
I love it. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing and being brave. That's amazing. All right, so I'm hoping that you've got a whole treasure box now, toolkit of some ways that you can engage in music making, music listening, music create or playing or singing. That can all be some ways that you can take care of your own self-care needs. But I'd like for us to take just a minute to think about some of the ways that we can apply what we've learned today, which is for ourselves, into the classroom in ways that we can either model for students how to engage in their own self-care needs, or that we can actually lead them through an activity. So if you can share in the chat some ways that you can take these things and apply them to your classroom, whether you're in a music classroom or not, I'd love to see those. The Hoberman sphere GIF, yeah, that's amazing. Great one for after recess or the morning. Improvisation with the black keys. Another mantra, great. Yeah, adjusting mood with music. Yeah, the recess, Four Seasons, and there are so many other ones. And I love the fact that it's kind of that Dance Dance Revolution, you know, or Just Dance, where you can see what it is, and it engages the entire body in that rhythm making. Yeah, a personal jingle. Man, what if you could get your kids to make a personal jingle before taking EOGs? EOGs are a reality, but they're something that we can help give our kids a way to boost their own self-confidence or know that it's just one thing, right? Awesome. Brain science with Olympic athletes. Love it. This is great. A choir that breathes together, sings together. Yep, and you can apply that to anything. You know, the band that breathes together, sing or plays together. Even the orchestra, we breathe together and then we play, right? That's great. Students creating a mantra and putting it to song and then sing or dance it as they switch classes as an exit ticket. That's amazing. I love that. I know Sayward loves dancing it too. Awesome. Thank you so much for your brilliant ideas. If anybody has any questions, I just wanted to let everybody know that Sayward and I will stay a little bit later after we give you your CEU information and share just a few more things. So if you have any questions, we are here. So right now we're going to drop into the chat the survey. Please make sure that you are very, very careful about your email address. If you don't type it in correctly, it will bounce back to me and you will not receive your participation certificate immediately. So please do make sure that you triple check that and make sure too that you choose mindful meter for this session on this survey. So thank you so much for filling that out. We really, truly take all of the feedback and apply it to the very next webinar. We took feedback from Sayward's session 2 days ago and applied it to today. So everything you say really does matter, and we appreciate all of the feedback. I wanted to let you know that you can earn another digital badge from DPI's Arts Education. We've got one that's going to be available at the end of our series. If you are able to watch Teach Happier, which is already in the archives now, and you can access it there, and the Mindful Classroom, which is on May 20th. Those are 2 that are required. And then we are asking you to choose 3 more sessions from the additional 6 that are offered. And participate in those. All you have to do is turn in your CEU certificates and request it, and you get this super sweet badge to put into your website or your email signature. That's where I've got mine. Shows how awesome you are and that you are a leader in the field of arts education. Or whatever educational field you're in. We have so many people from so many different areas here today. It's great. We wanted to share with you just some of our general arts ed SEL resources, which include our interactive castle wheel, our specific guidance documents for all 4 arts areas. And I will say that these actually exist for all subject areas that have a standard course of study, and you can access it through this link here. There's just an extra step if you're not an arts educator. And then we have a whole series of arts education webinars as well, and we're getting ready to roll out the digital badge for that one as well. There's an online course coming up from the North Carolina Museum of Art, and this summer specific to the works of art in their galleries and SEL. And then, and then there, of course, are all of the mindful meditation, musical meditations that the symphony has put together, and that was earlier on in the deck. So thank you so much for everything today. I really appreciated everyone who participated unmuted, everyone who participated muted. It was a really great session being able to make music with you all today. So we'll stick around for anyone who has additional questions, but at this time I'll go ahead and stop both the live stream and the